as my wedding gown caught fire. I gaped in shock. It had taken 6 months to create the ivory satin. And now it was a melting, blackening mess. My future mother-in-law, Margaret Wilson, was standing in front of me in the Grand Pavilion Bridal Suite in Cleveland. Her face twisted in victorious wrath, a lighter still gripped in her manicured palm. With a hysterical voice, she stated, "Now you can't marry my son. Jason needs a friend within our community, not a stranger from the opposite side of town." She seemed so proud of herself that she slung her high-end purse over her shoulder. Valerie Mitchell is my name. And I never thought that 30 minutes before I was to walk down the aisle, I would be watching my wedding dress burn. I am 25 years old, with their lavender gowns standing in sharp contrast to the flaming cloth at my feet. My 3 bridesmaids stood still in disbelief. My voice was remarkably calm as I grabbed for my phone and said, "Mrs. Wilson, you're unaware of what you just did." Her chuckle was as fragile as glass. "How did I do it? I prevented my son from making his greatest error in life. You believe you can get a Wilson with a degree from a community college and a job at a local advertising agency? Melissa Hammond is my Jason's rightful owner. Her father owns half of Cleveland's downtown district." As I tapped a button on my phone, I saw Margaret's expression. Jessica, a bridesmaid, hurried to open a window in an attempt to get rid of the smoke that was now permeating the space. "The wedding's off," Margaret said, dismissively waving her hand. "I'll just let everyone know that you changed your mind. Jason will ultimately understand, but he will be upset for a time. Do you have any doubts about that?" I turned my phone screen towards her and posed the question. It showed the ceremony venue in real time, with its exquisite white chair rows, the altar's floral arch, and the enormous projection screen that now provided a perfect view of this same chamber, showcasing Margaret in all her devastating splendor. She went pallid. "How about this? Is that what?" I carefully described the wedding live broadcast. "I did this for Jason's grandparents, who reside in Florida, and for my sister, who is currently serving overseas. The last 20 minutes have been spent recording the bands getting ready and everyone arriving." I stopped, looking her in the eyes. "As you reveal your genuine feelings for me, you're also ruining my wedding gown." "Cut it off." With her flawless hair undone, Margaret grabbed for my phone. "You had this planned. You arranged for me." Jessica moved to keep us apart. "Recently, we caught you on camera committing arson. Mrs. Wilson, I think you should think about what you're going to do next." I was holding a phone that buzzed with texts. Tina, one of my bridesmaids, looked at the television and let out a gasp. "It's Jason. He will visit the bridal suite." Margaret's terrified eyes became wide. As though seeking a way out, she glanced wildly about the room. "This is not as it seems. All I was doing was testing the cloth. Flame resistance is a feature of wedding gowns." The gathered guests were whispering, which I could hear from my phone. The camera's perspective had changed. Someone had hijacked the live broadcast, revealing the wedding party's reaction. In the first row, Jason's father sat with a stony expression. Jason's best man was already racing in the direction of the structure. Jason himself was the most striking, instead of standing quietly at the altar. He ran up the middle aisle, his face a mask of shock and rage. "Melody, one of my bridesmaids," muttered Valerie, regarding the ceremony. "What will we do? Shall we order everyone to return home?" On the ancient hardwood floor, I gazed down at the blazing remnants of my ideal garment, which were now only blackened fragments. The pragmatic aspect of my thinking, which had enabled me to complete college while working 2 jobs, was already planning my next move. "No," I firmly answered. "The ceremony is about to take place. The ceremony will unfold in a unique manner." Its door flew open. Jason stood motionless in his tuxedo, gazing first at the damaged dress on the floor, then at his mother, and finally at my face. His father and the venue manager emerged behind him, both with shocked expressions. Jason murmured, "Mom," in a dangerously low voice. "Is it not the case that I witnessed you burning Valerie's wedding gown while claiming she was unfit for our family?" Margaret's attitude altered in an instant. "Love, you're not getting it. You were under my protection. Since day one, this gal has been after your money." I was trying to gauge her personality and... "Stop," Jason interrupted. Give up lying. I listened to everything. His eyes grew softer as he turned to me. I'm so sorry, Val. I never thought she would act in this way. I approached him, taking care to avoid the charred cloth. We both knew it was much more than a dress. I insisted it was just a dress. However, your mom just expressed her thoughts on me. Of us. Before all of our acquaintances. Jason, apparently unaffected by his mother's stuttering objections, grasped my hands in his. Val, what are you up to? It's up to you. Mr. Wilson, with a somber face, emerged behind Jason before I could respond. What did you do, Margaret? His voice had a tone I had never heard before. Although it was low and controlled. Margaret begged Richard to do it. The Hammonds, you know, would make a far better fit. Their family has a long history in Cleveland society. This is in contrast to Valerie, who diligently and persistently cultivated a distinguished career. In disgust, Mr. Wilson shook his head. This time, you've overreached yourself. My phone was still beeping with alerts. When I looked down, I saw that attendees who were watching the entire event live were sending me messages. Hovering in the doorway, the venue planner appeared unsure. She said reluctantly, Ms. Mitchell, the visitors are curious about what's going on. Do we need to announce something? After glancing at the remnants of my garment one more time, I turned to face my bridesmaids in their lavender dresses. Something was developing in my thoughts that would completely change Margaret's attempt to ruin our wedding. I informed them that there was a change in the schedule, but the ceremony would still take place in 20 minutes. Margaret sneered. In what? Your pants? You can't possibly, calmly. I interrupted in my backup dress. The room became quiet. Jason gave me a bewildered glance. Do you have a spare dress? Naturally, I hadn't, but I had learned to always have a backup plan from my 6 months of dealing with erratic clients at the advertising firm. I turned to my bridesmaid and sang. Do you recall the Cleveland bride picture session we completed last month? Give Eliza a call to find out whether her dress sample is still available. Melody's eyes expanded in realization. Ivory composes the lace overlain sheath. It should be a perfect fit. Jason's dad came forward with his phone out. I'll have my driver come get it right now. What location is it? I went back to Margaret as they arranged the dress recovery. And she stood there, stunned as her plan fell apart. Did you truly believe that a dress would ruin this wedding? Given everything that Jason and I have been through, do you really think a dress could ruin this wedding? She growled and pointed at my phone, saying, but everyone's watching. They all witnessed the event. Yes, I did agree. Yes, they did. Additionally, they will now observe what follows. I knew the visitors were still watching, so I turned to face the camera. I appreciate the patience of everyone who has been waiting. Despite the little delay in the wedding, love always finds a way. Despite attempts to set it on fire, love persists. With the cheer, the attendees in the ceremony venue cheered from the phone's speakers. Jason gripped my hand, his eyes full of pride. Jason stated firmly, you have to go, Mom. I'll take you home with Dad. At our wedding, you are no longer welcome. Margaret's face twisted with anger. Would you pick her above your own mom? Given everything I've done for you, would you choose her over your own mother? In light of your actions today? No, Jason said. Indeed. There was a lot going on throughout the following 20 minutes. Eliza from Cleveland Bride showed up with not one, but 3 sample gowns, as Margaret was being led away by security after Mr. Wilson demanded it. With the help of my bridesmaids, the venue planner, and even a few of the female guests who had offered to assist, the bridal suite became an unplanned fashion headquarters. Jessica said this while displaying a sophisticated ivory sheath dress with beautiful lace trim. In only a few minutes, we can have it ready. And it's ideal for your figure. Originally recruited just for last-minute changes, the venue's seamstress performed miracle after miracle using quick stitches and safety pins. Jason, meanwhile, had made his way back to the ceremony area to speak directly to the attendees. I could hear him talking through the live feed that someone had placed carefully in front of the altar. He was saying, his voice firm in spite of everything. Today didn't start the way any of us expected. However, Valerie and I have always held the opinion that how you deal with the flawed situations together, rather than the ideal ones, is what makes a marriage work." Applause erupted in response to his statements. Melody adjusted the stolen veil on my head. "And I grinned." She exclaimed, "You look absolutely stunning," as she took a step back to appreciate her job. I hadn't intended to wear the dress when I became Mrs. Jason Wilson. But when I glanced in the mirror, I saw that it was a wonderful fit for me, simpler, more sophisticated, and somehow more resilient than my first choice. This dress, like me, adapts to the situation rather than allowing it to destroy me. Before going inside, Mr. Wilson gave the door a soft knock. When he spotted me, his eyes widened. "You're gorgeous, Valerie." His face was troubled as he stopped. "For Margaret, I want to apologize. Her actions were unacceptable." "Mr. Wilson, you don't have to apologize for her," I said. "You did not burn my clothing." With gratitude, he nodded. "Jason sent me a message, assuring me that everyone is ready at any time." He continued with a faint smile. "For what he claims is the most successful viral wedding marketing campaign Cleveland has ever seen. He is apparently recording everything." I chuckled. "You may rely on Eddie to identify a chance for advancement amid a catastrophe." My experience in advertising had taught me that overcoming unforeseen obstacles may occasionally result in the most captivating stories. At the door was the venue coordinator. "Ms. Mitchell, we're prepared when you are. The musicians are ready. Additionally, the lighting has been changed to go with your new clothing." A thought came to me, and I responded, "Wait, is the live feed still in progress?" Once she confirmed that it was in progress, I made a quick decision. "Can we project it for a few more minutes in the ceremonial space? I want everyone to witness the entire journey, not just the arrival, as we trek from here to there." 10 minutes later, I was aware that every move my bridesmaids and I made as we moved toward the ceremony area down the venue's garden walk was being televised to the guests who were waiting. It felt more like a forceful entrance than a traditional wedding procession. Nothing, not even a vengeful mother-in-law brandishing a lighter, could prevent this wedding. I heard the cheers from the attendees getting louder as we got closer to the ceremony space's entrance. Jason was waiting just inside, and when he spotted me, his countenance brightened. "Are you ready to exchange vows?" He took my hand and asked. I squeezed his fingers and said, "More prepared than ever." Even though it wasn't the ceremony we practiced, it felt more real than we expected. Instead of keeping the customary, respectful quiet, everyone stood up and applauded as I came down the aisle wearing the dress I had borrowed. Their expressions conveyed more than simply the typical wedding happiness. Show respect, solidarity. Proudly standing in the first row, Jason's father periodically glanced at the vacant seat where Margaret should have been. His eyes briefly locked with mine, offering unspoken encouragement. We joked that Pastor Mitchell, our officiant, was unrelated, but he did a fantastic job improvising. "We have gathered here today to witness not only a wedding, but also a triumph of love over hardship." As he said, "Dearly beloved, as a pair, Valerie and Jason have already overcome their first obstacle together with poise, fortitude, and undying devotion to one another." Jason added lines to our vows that weren't in our rehearsal. He added, his voice echoing to the back of the room and beyond to those watching the live feed. "I swear to support you against anyone who tries to stand between us. This is especially true if that individual happens to be a member of my own family." Jason's expression changed to one of terror when it was time to exchange rings. His mother had been holding the rings as they were getting ready for the wedding. Mr. Wilson hurried forward and pulled the velvet box out of his pocket. "Just in case," he said softly. "I took the time to retrieve these earlier." The exhilaration we felt upon becoming husband and wife seemed to alleviate all the tension that had built up throughout the day. I saw my boss, Eddie, covertly recording from the side as we made our way back down the aisle. I got a thumbs up from him that was somehow both sincere and professional. I had never experienced a wedding reception like the one that took place in the Grand Pavilion's ballroom. There was an almost celebratory rebellion in the air. In place of civil discourse and traditional wedding customs, a phoenix emerging from ashes with our names beneath was the subject of a hurriedly made bespoke Snapchat filter. As we walked into the reception, Jessica told me that your wedding was trending locally on social media. People who are incapable of burning love are utilizing NAR to rise from the ashes. Tom, a public relations professional and Jason's buddy from college, came up to us holding his phone. The Cleveland Plain Dealer requests a comment. According to their lifestyle editor, who saw the live video, her niece was among the guests. Cleveland's most resilient wedding is the moniker given to it. With his arms safely around my waist, Jason answered, "Tell them we're just thankful for everyone's support. And that genuine dedication entails overcoming challenges together rather than avoiding them." As the evening went on, I observed Mr. Wilson having heated conversations with several family members, with damage control visible in his facial expressions and body language. During dinner, Jason's Aunt Diane came over to our table and leaned down to talk to us in private. "Richard is inconsolable," she revealed. After being led home, Margaret threatens to fire Jason from the family company if he doesn't change his ways. Richard informed her that she should be concerned about her role in the organization after today. Jason put his hand under the table. "Dad has always been the family's pillar," he remarked. "He simply let Mom believe she was in control, so she never noticed it." The empty tables in the front of the room, which were designated for Margaret's country club friends who had discreetly vanished following the event, caught my attention as our first dance got underway. Colleagues from my advertising business had stepped up to take their place, providing sincere support in their stead. Eddie commented, "Mr. Wilson is managing the situation expertly," as he approached us with 2 champagne glasses after the dance. As he discreetly assures Margaret's supporters of their absence, he expresses his gratitude to each individual for their commitment. Jason nodded as he observed his father handling the room with a renewed sense of deference. "I believe this is the first time I've witnessed him confront her in such a public setting," he whispered. Today marked the end of his 27-year marriage. Margaret had originally engaged the wedding photographer, who came warily to us. She smiled and said, "Mrs. Wilson, the younger Mrs. Wilson, I wanted to inquire about the clothing issue. Even though I managed to catch some lovely moments today, a few visitors snapped pictures. Do you want me to ask that they keep those confidential?" I looked at Jason, and then I responded, "The best course of action here, in my opinion, is to be honest. We now have this in our tail." A notice buzzed through my phone, as if fate had decreed it. On a local Cleveland news page, the little video of Margaret burning my garment had already received over 20,000 views. The comments section, flooded with support, featured stories from other brides who had dealt with challenging in-laws. Looking over the comments, Eddie remarked, "You may not have planned it, but you've started a movement. People are responding favorably to standing up to harmful familial ties." Mia, Jason's cousin, showed up to our table with a determined and embarrassed look on her face. Aunt Margaret firmly stated, "I want you both to know that not everyone in the family shares your views." She crossed a line that most of us believe cannot be uncrossed. Sincerely moved, I said, "Thank you, Mia. That is really significant." It was late in the evening when Jason's father texted him. Before he showed me the screen, he read it quietly. "In the guest house, your mother has shut herself in. She insists that I pick between that girl and her. I've told her that my decision was astonishingly simple because of the way she behaved today. When you get back from your honeymoon, we'll talk about what to do next. I'm proud of you too." "Dad, are you all right?" I questioned Jason in a low voice, looking for remorse or uncertainty on his expression. Squeezing my hand, he said, "I'm better than okay. I saw Mom denigrate you, undercut Dad, and control everyone around her for years. She finally revealed her actual nature to everyone, not just us. Today, the sense of relief is palpable." As the event went on, I became aware of an extraordinary development. Margaret's side of the family and social circle, who had initially been formal and stiff, were now unwinding and interacting with my friends and family in a more natural way. The fabricated social boundaries that Margaret had upheld were crumbling in her absence. The venue organizer, Mrs. Wilson, walked up smiling unexpectedly. "You ought to see something." She guided us to the ballroom's entrance. A big picture frame with scores of handwritten comments from visitors was there, proudly set on an easel. The headline read, Messages of love and resilience for Valerie and Jason. Your bridesmaids organized this, she said. Following the incident, they urged visitors to submit supportive remarks. A week into our Maldives vacation, we were still feeling the full effects of what had transpired at our wedding. As part of our daily check-in with reality, Jason and I sat on our own terrace with a view of the azure waves. Browsing through our phone's messages, Jason replied, putting down his phone, Dad says Mom's staying with her sister in Cincinnati. It seems that Aunt Linda is the only one who still holds to her version of events. According to which everyone mistook her for testing the dress fabric. I adjusted my sun hat and grinned cynically. It's difficult to misinterpret someone brandishing a lighter and yelling, "Now you can't marry my son." The Cleveland media had actively covered our story. A local wedding tragedy that made headlines had turned into a discussion on harmful family dynamics and defending good relationships. Several women's magazines had requested interviews about setting boundaries with challenging in-laws. Eddie reports that 3 new clients have contacted the agency explicitly requesting the Phoenix wedding dress team. I chuckled and conveyed the message to Jason. When we return, he wants to know whether we would be interested in participating in a panel discussion on crisis management. With his thumb grazing my new wedding band, Jason grasped my hand. Would you like to join me? If you, like. We can keep this confidential. I considered the messages that other couples who had to deal with disapproving relatives had sent us. Perhaps others can benefit from our experience. It wasn't how I intended to begin our marriage. But authentic, Jason concluded. Similar to us, Jason and I made our first significant public appearance since coming back from our honeymoon 3 months after our wedding when we went to the Wilson Family Foundation's annual gala. Margaret usually planned the event, but Mr. Wilson's assistance led to a complete redesign. Feeling anxious? As our vehicle arrived at the Cleveland Art Museum, Jason inquired. I confessed a bit as I smoothed my gorgeous emerald gown, which was designed by Eliza's Boutique, who had successfully transformed our wedding tale into a commercial about resiliency and second chances. It was a very different ambiance inside than in years past. Real friendliness had taken the place of the stilted formality. At the door, Mr. Wilson welcomed us, appearing years younger without Margaret's domineering influence. He smiled and embraced us both, saying, "There they are. This pair inspired our foundation's new endeavor." He led us to a display that highlighted Rising Phoenix grants, the Wilson Family Foundation's newest initiative for women beginning anew after challenging life changes. The revised foundation logo now includes a subtle Phoenix theme. Mr. Wilson proudly stated, "We have already approved funding for 15 women, all of whom are rebuilding after difficult circumstances." I saw that Margaret's absence had an impact on the guest list when we interacted with the attendees. Those who were truly enthusiastic about the foundation's mission had replaced many of the status-conscious acquaintances and social climbers. A young woman named Mrs. Wilson came up and identified herself as one of the grantees. "I had the guts to leave my terrible marriage because of your wedding story. I'm now launching my own company." Later that night, as Jason and I were sitting quietly on the patio of the museum, he got a text. With a contemplative gaze, he continued, "Mom is returning to Cleveland. According to her father, she has committed to counseling if she hopes to make amends." I gave his hand a firm squeeze. "We'll deal with your parents' situation jointly." He grinned and drew me in, just as we did during the wedding. Some flames intentionally cause destruction. Others merely demonstrate indestructibility.